Traveled a number of times in the South Pacific. Been all over it. And I began to notice that wherever I went, there was a man who'd been there before me. Long while before me. 200 years before me. It's amazing the number of places this man got to. He's a Yorkshireman from England named Captain James Cook. Everywhere you go in the Pacific. Fiji, Tahiti, New Zealand, Australia, Samoa. Everywhere you go, you'll find that Captain Cook was there. He is regarded as the greatest maritime explorer in the history of Great Britain and indeed of the world. He discovered Australia. How they would ever miss such a big place, I'd never know, but they had. And he found it and charted the whole east coast of it. I've been in Botany Bay, where he spent several weeks on the same site where he camped. And in New Zealand, they've got Cook's Inlet. He explored the whole west coast of the United States looking for the Northwest Passage. He went as far north as he could until he was stopped by a gigantic long wall of ice, which he said was taller than his ship. And so he had to turn back without finding the fabulous Northwest Passage. He died finally in the Sandwich Islands, now known as Hawaii, named for the Earl of Sandwich. He gave it that name. Well, I've always been interested in such a man. I began to read about him, and I found that he was a man of great, powerful faith. He was the son of a humble citizen of Whitby in Yorkshire, where they made ships of sturdy English oak. And one afternoon I went up to Whitby from Scarborough, and I stood before the statue of Captain Cook. What a wonderful thing, after all those years being a poor boy in a little British town, to have a big statue like that made for you. It was given by the Commonwealth of Australia. He's looking out to sea. And on the statue it says, Captain James Cook, who set sail in good British ships made here in Whitby. They carried him on all his enterprises. They carried him to glory. And at last they left him at rest. And then the names of the ships: Adventure, Resolution, Endeavor, Discovery. How romantic can you get? But on the statue are engraven his words, which constitute his motto. The motto of a man of unswerving, dedicated faith. To strive, to seek, to find, and not to yield. Real faith could take a poor little boy out of a back street in a little seaport town and make him an immortal. Isn't it wonderful? Real faith can work wonders in making great people greater. Now, I was reading the other day about a friend of mine. His name is S.B. Fuller. He was written up in the United States Chamber of Commerce publication one time as the most successful black businessman in this country at that time. He was of a sharecropper's family in Louisiana. It was a big family, and they were very poor. This boy had 3 years of school. He said to his mother one day, "Mother, I'm going to be a failure." She said, "Never let me hear you talk like that. Who made you?" "Well," he says, "God made me." "Well, do you think God makes failures?" "He is too skillful for that. You are going to be one of the greatest men in business in the United States. You get that?" I've always noticed about these people that they have a mother like that. So if you're a mother, be one like that. Years from now, they'll say, "My old mother told me this." And that'd be the greatest compliment you ever get. "My old mother told me." Where the father comes in, I have no idea. He's just a necessary figure to have around, I guess. My old mother. And she told him several things. So, by this time, he'd gotten too big for the environment, so he went to Chicago. And he got into the cosmetic business. And he sold soap. And he made $25,000 selling soap, which he put in the bank. Every cent of $25,000 made out of soap in the bank. Then he heard that the man who was head of the company, who owned the company he was working for, wanted to sell it. So he went around seeing him. He said, "Sir, I'd like to buy the company." The man said, "How much you got?" He said, $25,000. Well, the man said, "I want $150,000 for the company. I'll give you 10 days to get the rest of it." So he said, "Give me your 25. Now he said, "If you don't get the rest of it, I keep this 25. And Mr. Fuller said, "Yes, sir, that's my life savings. That's everything I've got. I will be back within 10 days with $150,000, $125,000. So he called on everybody he knew. He'd always been a man of upright character, always kept his word, very decent, fine gentleman. And the night of the 9th day, he had everything but $10,000. But he'd exhausted all of his resources. So he sat down and he said, "What am I going to do?" Then he thought of his mother. Another thing she'd said to him: "When you get up against it, son, and you run out of ideas, just remember that God has got 10,000 ideas you never thought of. And just ask him for one of them. That's all you need to do." So he got down on his knees and he told the Lord his problem, and he said, "Tell me, Lord, where I'm going to get this other $10,000. And the Lord said, so Mr. Fuller said, "You ride around the business district of Chicago